Today is the engagement party for me and Lu Ruyan. The grand hall was packed, resounding with the mix of laughter and clinking glasses. The whole city seemed to have come to offer congratulations. Everyone raised their glasses and approached, their mouths full of words. Mr. G is truly blessed. A double happiness has come to his door. I smiled, but I knew better than anyone else that half of them weren't here to wish us well, but to watch the drama unfold. After all, the story of Lu Ruyan keeping a boy toy had long spread throughout high society, even more prominent than the news of our engagement. As for me, ostensibly the future son-in-law of the Lu family, I was merely a decorative piece carrying the name of the future G family. They were waiting to see when I would finally break and turn against them. I raised a glass of red wine, maintaining the standard smile on my lips, yet my heart remained unruffled. Suddenly, a bald man elbowed his way through the crowd, his beer belly so large that his vest buttons were about to pop. He clapped me hard on the shoulder, his tone half genuine, half mocking. "Mr. G, I hear you and Miss Lu are getting married, and the value of G Corporation has also increased by 20 billion. It truly is a double happiness." It sounded like a blessing, but it was actually a sarcastic remark, implying I was leveraging the Lu family to climb a ladder. I stopped, lightly swirling the wine in my hand. The red wine clung to the glass, highlighting his oily face, making him look even more unpleasant. I slowly opened my mouth. "Are you sure you think the increase in G Corp's value is because Lu Ruyan and I are getting married?" The bald man froze, attempting a forced laugh to gloss it over. "Well, if not, then..." I cut him off. "Your company's land project cooperation application is still on my desk. How about this? Once Lu Ruyan and I are married, I'll approve it for you." The moment I finished speaking, his face immediately turned pale. His earlier arrogance vanished, and he awkwardly grabbed my hand, his voice trembling. "Mr. G, I was wrong, I misspoke. Please be generous, don't mind this petty person." I gently pulled my hand away from his grip, my tone as cold as water. "I apologized, but it's too late." With that, I turned and walked away. Behind me was the sound of his begging and the gasps of the guests. I didn't bother to look back. Wasting words on this type of person was just a waste of time. I walked out onto the outdoor balcony, leaning against the railing and looking down. Just then, a couple slowly walked in. The woman was graceful and slender, wearing a high-end evening gown, none other than Lu Ruyan. Beside her was a young man with an unfamiliar face, not the sunshine-style pretty boy she usually brought along. He looked more like a university student who had never attended a grand party before. The designer suit he wore was clearly ill-fitting, and he stumbled as he walked. Before I could get a good look, he slipped and bumped hard into the arm of a young master nearby, causing the champagne glass in the other man's hand to spill all over him. The young man frantically bowed his head. Sorry, I didn't mean to." The atmosphere in the grand hall immediately froze. All eyes were on them, and people began whispering. "Who is that? Never seen him before." Judging by his look, he must be from a nouveau riche family, with no manners at all. Why would Lu Ruyan bring someone like this? It's so embarrassing. The young man's face flushed red. He stood there dazed, his hands and feet flustered. Lu Ruyan, however, acted as if she didn't notice, even bending down to help him adjust his tie. I let out a faint cold laugh and then walked down the stairs, my voice breaking the silence. "Don't just stand around, everyone. I just ordered several crates of tequila, lay 925 from overseas. If you don't mind, I'll have someone send a few bottles to each of your homes." The moment I finished, the guests immediately forgot the incident, erupting in laughter and chatter, and the atmosphere became lively again. I walked directly up to the young man, scrutinized him from head to toe, and asked, "I haven't met you before. Whose son are you? Do you have an invitation?" He scratched his head, his voice soft. "My name is Yi Tengqing." After saying that, Yi Tengqing tightly held Lu Ruyan's hand, leaned close to her ear, and quietly asked, "Ruyan, who is this man? His tone is so aggressive. Aren't all people equal? What right does he have to talk to me like that?" I heard every single word clearly. Before I could speak, Lu Ruyan gave me a cold glance and said, "This person is the one you brought. Is there a problem?" I raised an eyebrow, maintaining a smile on my face. Of course there's no problem, but I already have a plan in mind. He dared to publicly disrespect me, his fiancée, in front of so many people, so don't blame me for being unkind later. Before the engagement party was over, I instructed my assistant to prepare documents. First thing tomorrow morning, I would send an ultimatum to the Liu family, forcing them to immediately repay the $500 million commercial loan still owed to the G family. The next morning, I arrived at the company and immediately felt an unusual atmosphere in the elevator. The colleagues who usually nodded to me were now avoiding eye contact. When I reached the top floor conference room, the door opened. Oh dear, 7 or 8 gray-haired directors were packed inside. Their faces were long like they were on fire, looking as if I owed them millions. Before I could even sit down, Mr. Wong, sitting in the middle, pounded the table first, pointing at me, his voice trembling. "Boda, what's wrong with you? The day after the engagement party, you sent an ultimatum demanding the Liu family repay $500 million. Don't you know this will affect the alliance relationship between the two sides? The industry is laughing at us right now." Beside him, Mr. Li chimed in. "That's right, Boda's alliance is the solution to everything. The Liu family still has value to exploit. We can't let the relationship get tense." I pulled up a chair and sat down, tossing my briefcase onto the table, and let out a cold laugh. "A solution? Why don't you try primping yourselves? Go form an alliance through marriage with another family." I continued. "What did Liu Ruyan do to me at the engagement party? Didn't you all see? She brought a complete stranger and publicly humiliated me. Did you all think I was an easy target?" Mr. Wong attempted to threaten me further, saying that making a fuss would affect our cooperation with the Liu family. I directly cut him off, leaning slightly forward, my gaze sweeping over everyone. My company is currently short on exactly that amount for several projects. $500 million is an undisputed debt, properly documented. Demanding repayment now is only natural. Moreover, if you truly make me angry, don't talk about $500 million. I'll teach the entire Liu family what it means to keep silent. The moment the words fell, the conference room immediately fell silent. No one dared to speak up again. But I knew those old geezers were definitely not convinced in their hearts. They had been dealing with the Liu family for decades and were accustomed to relying on marriage alliances for stability. I didn't waste any more time arguing, directly laying out my terms. "I'm leaving one condition here. Whoever listens will continue to receive dividends, and I guarantee the rest of your lives will be prosperous. Anyone who still wants to resist me, who thinks they can cling to the Liu family, should pack up and leave, or I'll have you locked up in jail. Choose for yourselves." Over the next 10 days, I held over a dozen overnight meetings, debating with the old men during the day and handling urgent company files at night. I kept up the pressure until those who wanted to resist were all suppressed. There was a man named Zhang who secretly passed information to the Liu family. I had someone investigate and found evidence that he had embezzled company funds. The next day, I had him taken to the police station. The rest of the people saw what happened and became obedient. No one dared to mention the words marriage alliance again. With the internal matters nearly resolved, I instructed my assistant to formally send the ultimatum to the Liu Corporation. In less than half a day, I heard that the Liu family was in chaos, with middle and high-level executives making frantic calls everywhere. Liu Ruyan's father even smashed a cup on his desk. I sat in my office, looking at the high-rise buildings outside the window, my heart perfectly still. This was Liu Ruyan's debt, and it was also the Liu family's debt to my company. This is only the beginning. In the afternoon, the secretary came in to report that someone from the Liu family wanted to meet, asking if I wanted to see them. I leaned back in my chair, rubbed my temples, and slowly replied, "I won't meet them. Tell them to relay this message. Either transfer the $500 million within 3 days or wait for a court summons. Gather all the files for the cooperation projects between us and the Liu family and prepare to cancel all of them." I added a final instruction, my voice cold as steel. Since they don't treat me with any respect, there's no need to continue the cooperation. The secretary nodded. Just as she turned to leave, I added, "Oh, one more thing. Keep a close eye on Liu Ruyan's movements and see what she's about to do. I know that woman well. Liu Ruyan would absolutely not sit still and wait for disaster. Given her personality, it's highly likely she will come to me herself. But that's fine. I'm already prepared. Whatever tricks she tries, I can handle them all. After all, this drama has just begun." After dealing with the company's internal turmoil and the tug-of-war with the Liu family for half a month, I finished work on time that day. As I stepped out of the building, my Maybach was nowhere to be seen. Normally, the driver would be waiting in the usual spot, but today, there was no sign of the car. I had just taken out my phone to call the driver when I heard the roar of an engine. A dazzling pink car sped straight towards me, stopping right in front of me. I looked up and immediately recognized it as Lou Rian's custom-made Rolls-Royce. The gold trim stripe along the side of the car had once caused a stir in high society. I heard its price was in the six figures. She relied on this car to be a hot search topic countless times, and because of it, she was branded with the title Gold Rim Miss, a truly cheap moniker. The car window rolled down, and Lou Ruyan poked her head out. She was wearing a fiery red evening gown and 10-centimeter high heels, her hair neatly styled without a single strand out of place. But her expression was extremely unpleasant. Before I could say anything, she frowned, her voice icy. "Gee, Boda, are you insane? Go get your head checked immediately. Do you know what it means to send an ultimatum demanding $500 million from the Lou family and cancel all cooperation files? What are you trying to do?" I didn't answer. I simply threw the thick stack of documents in my hand straight at her. The heavy file struck her hard, making her stagger slightly. I spoke slowly, my voice casual. "Nothing, just that I don't want to cooperate with the Lou family anymore." "Can't you read?" Lou Ruyan lowered her head to flip through the papers, her expression turning from white to green, then gradually black. Her fingers trembled as she pointed to the documents. Her voice strained. "Gee, Boda, do you know how much the Lou family will lose if these contracts are canceled? Don't think that doing this will make me look at you twice. You'd better restore the cooperation immediately, so at least we can save some face externally." Hearing that, I found it amusing. Even now, she still didn't understand the situation. Was this situation my fault? It was because Lou Rian flaunted various young men every day, treating me like I was invisible. I didn't bother to argue, only glancing at the passenger seat. It turned out Yi Tingxing was leaning against the car window, secretly peeking at me. When he saw me look back, he panicked and withdrew his head with a thump, hitting the car's ceiling and letting out a soft ouch. I raised an eyebrow and gave a faint smile, looking at Lou Ruyan as I spoke. "All right, if you want to talk, let's talk in your car. Drive it over here." Lou Ruyan instinctively turned her head to look at the passenger seat, then suddenly remembered there was someone in the car who shouldn't be seen. Her face immediately flushed bright red, and she quickly said, "Wait a moment. I need to handle something inside the car." With that, she sat back in the driver's seat, sharply turned the wheel, and rapidly backed up. The car instantly darted into the small wooded area nearby. I stood still, not moving from my spot. A moment later, my driver arrived in the Maybach. He quickly got out of the car, bowing his head as he explained, "Mr. G, I apologize. Miss Lou called me just now and said you would be taking her car and that I didn't need to wait. I didn't dare disobey, but I also didn't dare leave, so I parked nearby." I patted his shoulder. "It's all right, it's not your fault." As soon as I settled into the car, I saw Lou Ruyan running out of the woods. Her hair was messy, and her dress was covered in grass. She no longer looked poised and noble. Seeing that I hadn't waited and was getting into my own car, she immediately became furious, running up to pound on the car window, shouting, "Gee, Boda, you've been playing games with me for 25 years, and now you dare to mess with me?" I lowered the car window just a crack, looked at Lou Rian's face, trembling with anger, and let out a faint, cold laugh. "Mess with you? I find your car too dirty. Not just the car, but the person inside as well." Following my gaze, Lou Ruyan turned her head to look at her Rolls-Royce and discovered that the paint along the side of the car was covered in long, scratch marks from branches, and the wheels were smeared with mud. The luxury car, worth tens of millions of yuan, now looked no different from something that had just rolled out of a mud pile. Before she could say anything, Yi Tingxing's voice came from the woods. "Ruyan, why did you make me get out of the car?" I glanced over in that direction. Yi Tingxing ran out of the bushes, his hair disheveled and his trousers stained with mud. He looked nothing short of pathetic. Seeing this scene, Lou Ruyan's face turned crimson. She instinctively stepped aside and quickly said, "Boda, don't misunderstand. He and I are completely innocent." I burst out laughing, my eyes turning cold. Innocent? Hearing those two words from your mouth is truly ridiculous. At best, you haven't slept together, yet you dare call it innocent. Without waiting for her to say more, I coldly ordered the driver, "Drive." The Maybach sped away, leaving behind the sight of a pale-faced Lou Ruyan, with Yi Tingxing standing beside her, looking bewildered and asking questions. I leaned back in the seat, feeling no ripples in my heart. I tolerated her before simply because the Lou family still held exploitable value. It was merely an exchange of benefits. But now that she has pushed things this far, she shouldn't blame me for making her and the Lou family pay the price. As soon as I returned to the office, the secretary quietly entered, holding a file, and respectfully placed it on my desk. "Mr. G, we have found the information on e-tunching." I leaned back in my chair, picked up the file, and began to read. The black and white text was clear. He was a second-year university student whose family had recently faced a crisis, resulting in crushing debt. To pay for a family member's medical treatment, he had to work at a high-end bar, serving drinks and entertaining guests. It was there that he met Lu Ruyan. She was heavily intoxicated at the time, and e-tunching attentively looked after her all night. She was touched by this chivalrous act, and from then on, her eyes were only on him. After reading it, I slammed the file shut on the desk and gave a wry smile. Why does this plot sound so familiar? It's exactly like those cheap romance novels I used to read when I was young. All those male protagonists fit that mold. The secretary standing beside me did not dare to speak. I'll continue. Back then, I used to think what was so great about these types of male leads. In the end, all they get in return is a woman's vague love. It's much better to be a boss. You get whatever you want. You can turn your hand to make clouds or flip it to make rain. The secretary sensed that I was in a good mood and carefully asked, "Mr. G, should I have someone make e-tunching disappear to prevent him from getting involved with Miss Lu again later and bothering you?" I shook my head, my finger lightly tapping on the table, a cold smile tugging at the corner of my lips. "No need to rush. It's rare to have such an interesting drama. Let him play a few more scenes. We must add some spice to their love and see how long their so-called unwavering love can endure." The secretary immediately understood, nodded, and replied, "I understand. I'll make the arrangements." Half an hour later, he returned to report. "The wedding invitations for you and Miss Lu have been sent out. The recipient is e-tunching, and the address is his university dormitory." I lifted my teacup, took a sip, and said nonchalantly, "Good, well done. Keep a close eye on the situation and report any developments immediately." About 3 hours later, the secretary rushed back in, a look of obvious excitement on his face. "Mr. G, new development." After receiving the invitation, e-tunching left a note from Miss Lu. He said he doesn't want to be involved anymore and has decided to withdraw. I raised an eyebrow, slightly surprised but also finding it logical. He was merely someone who wanted to piggyback on an influential family. Now that he saw Lu Ruyan and I were about to get married, knowing there was no longer an opportunity, it was understandable for him to retreat. Knowing he no longer has a chance, e-tunching naturally wants to withdraw. But Lu Ruyan's reaction is truly interesting. The secretary continued, his voice still full of excitement. After Miss Lu saw the note he left, she immediately flew into a rage. She mobilized every connection she could to trace e-tunching's whereabouts, even dispatching all her private bodyguards to search for him. She drove out herself, saying she must find him and bring him back. Hearing this, I only found it amusing. Lu Ruyan was truly enacting a scene of chasing her lover's soul to the gates of the crematorium, immersing herself more than a character in those tearful novels. I heard she was in such a rush that she didn't even have time to change her dress, running out onto the street in her 10-centimeter heels. Due to her haste, she ran 2 red lights and nearly crashed into another car. The secretary added, "Now the entire upper-class circle is discussing this. Everyone says Miss Lu has thrown away all her face as a wealthy young lady, all for a university student." I chuckled lightly, took out my phone, and opened the folder containing those brainless novels I used to read for fun. Before, when I had free time, I would read a few for entertainment, but now, looking back at titles like The Tyrannical CEO Loves Me or The Rich Mischases the Poor Boy, I only found them bland. I selected all of them, pressed delete, and watched the progress bar slowly reach the end, without any ripple in my heart. After all, those things are all fiction. No matter how dramatic the love in those stories is, it's not worth a dime when faced with reality. The only thing that is real is the power in my hands and the G family's enterprise. The secretary saw me deleting the data and asked, "Mr. G, is there anything else you'd like me to do? For example, send Miss Lu a picture of how pathetic she looks right now." I gently shook my head, leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and said, "No need. Just let her cause chaos. The more chaos, the better. Only when she's crazy enough will she understand how stupid she has been. Oh, bring me the latest financial report of the Lu Corporation tomorrow morning. I want to see how much capital the Lu family has left for her to continue tormenting herself." The secretary immediately replied, "Yes, and quietly backed out. The room fell silent again. I looked out the window frame. The sunset outside was gradually fading. In my heart, I knew very well that both Lu Ruyan and Yi Tengqing would definitely lose sleep tonight. As for me, I'm only serving the appetizer. The main event is still to come. The next day, I left work on time. The elevator slowly descended to the ground floor. As the doors opened, I saw someone sitting on the lobby couch. It was none other than Yi Tengqing. He was wearing a wrinkled shirt, his hair was messy, and his face was exhausted. Surrounding him, several Ji family bodyguards formed a circle, their eyes vigilant, ready to restrain him at any moment. I frowned slightly. The secretary immediately understood and quietly pressed the emergency alarm button on the wall. This button was connected directly to the nearest police station. Normally unused, today was a perfect opportunity to test it. Yi Tengqing looked up and saw me. He immediately jumped up from the couch, his eyes filled with both resentment and bitterness. Ji Boda, you finally came out. I've been waiting for you for a long time. I didn't bother to pay attention, just walked calmly toward the door. He tried to rush forward to block me, but was tightly pinned down by the bodyguards. In less than a minute, the sound of police sirens echoed in the lobby. 2 police officers walked in. I stepped forward to greet them, my expression calm, my voice composed. Hello, officers. I am the one who reported the incident. Someone illegally broke into our company and deliberately refused to leave. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to handle it. Hearing this, Yi Tengqing immediately struggled and shouted, No, I didn't break in illegally. It was his bodyguards who detained me here. I just wanted to meet him and clarify things. I turned to look at the 2 police officers, my voice steady, my eyes cold. Officers, please look. Our company has an access control system. Outsiders are required to register before entry. Yet he neither registered nor made an appointment. If that's not called trespassing, then what is? Furthermore, all the staff here can testify that he has been in this lobby for almost an hour and intentionally charged towards me. The 2 officers glanced at Yi Tengqing, then turned to ask the receptionist who was standing nearby, witnessing the scene. One police officer looked at Yi Tengqing, his voice calm but stern. Young man, no matter what conflict you have, you cannot trespass into someone else's company. This is a society governed by law. If there's a problem, you must follow legal channels. Yi Tengqing's face was flushed red. He struggled to break free from the bodyguard's grip, pointed straight at me, and shouted, I know everything. Don't you dare try to deceive me. It was you, wasn't it? It was you who sent the wedding invitation for you and Lu Ruyan to me. You deliberately did that to force me to back down, but let me tell you, never. I couldn't help but laugh, walked over to the sofa, sat down, and calmly said, Oh, is that so? Then tell me, how exactly did I force you to back down? Before Yi Tengqing could even open his mouth, my secretary stepped forward, his voice cold. Mr. G sent you the invitation out of respect for the Lu family as a way to let you save some face. Don't be ungrateful. It's ridiculous for a third party to pretend to be noble. Did you truly think you could compare to Mr. G? After speaking, the secretary turned and looked at me. I merely smiled and nodded, then took the cup of tea brought by a server. This tea costs tens of thousands per pound, and drinking it truly soothed my throat. I slowly took a sip, thinking to myself, it really is great to have money. Even the person speaking on my behalf is a graduate from a prestigious university. Yi Tengqing was speechless, his whole body trembling, and then he suddenly screamed, Ji Boda, don't go too far. Lu Ruyan loves me. For me, she could spend millions in assets, even daring to block a bus, to fight against the whole world. What has she ever done for you besides that engagement title? Do you deserve her heart? I put the teacup down, my voice light. First of all, blocking a bus is an illegal act, didn't you know that? Miss Lu Ruyan dared to break the law because of you. If you hadn't brought it up, I would have almost forgotten to have someone put her in jail. I paused for a moment, my eyes calm but chillingly cold. Secondly, haven't you read the news? Yesterday, I forced the Lu family stock to halt trading. It is currently plummeting drastically. I leaned in, looking directly into Yi Tengqing's gradually paling face. But congratulations to you. When Lu Ruyan finishes her time in prison, and the Lu family officially goes bankrupt, you will get the love of a woman who is both bankrupt and has a criminal record. Are you happy? Yi Tengqing was stunned, his pupils contracted, and he froze for nearly 2 whole seconds. Clearly, he didn't know that I had pushed the Lu family to the brink. His mind was still dreaming about the so-called climb into an influential family. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, Clearly, The feud is between you and me. Why do you have to drag innocent people into it? If you have the guts, come after me." I took the handkerchief the secretary offered, leisurely wiped a few drops of water from the back of my hand, and then threw the handkerchief straight down at his feet. "Come after you? Take a good look at yourself. Have you forgotten the price of one night entertaining guests at the nightclub? 1,500 yuan, right? Even if you didn't sell your body, you spent plenty of time serving wine and smiling to please customers. And now you dare to pretend to be virtuous?" The secretary added from the side, his tone serious yet mocking. "That's right, Mr. E. Our company, G Corporation, is currently valued at about 150 billion. Compared to that, the 1,500 yuan you just mentioned does seem a bit small." Yi Tengqing's face instantly went white, as if he had just heard the most wicked curse in the world. He tightly clenched his fists, his eyes fixed on me with hatred, but he couldn't utter a single word. In the end, he could only turn around and run for his life out of the building. I watched his retreating figure and said indifferently to the secretary, "Don't let what Lu Rian did yesterday be buried. Find a few reputable media accounts and have them write about it clearly. Just say the G family sponsored the full disclosure of the truth. I want to see if the netizens are willing to spend money to buy into her great love." The secretary immediately nodded. "Yes, Mr. G, I will arrange it right away." I put my hands in my pockets and slowly walked out of the lobby. The evening wind blew through, and the feeling of annoyance in my heart gradually faded. A person like Yi Tengqing was fundamentally not worth my attention. Next, it was Lu Rian's turn to taste the consequences of her own actions. Less than half a day later, the secretary reported back, "Mr. G, things are spreading faster than anticipated. The media accounts we partnered with have posted the surveillance video of Lu Rian blocking the bus, complete with a detailed timeline. It has already climbed to the top of the search rankings." I opened my phone to watch the video. On the screen, Lu Rian's pink Rolls-Royce was blocking the middle of the pedestrian lane. Behind it, 3 escort vehicles completely sealed off the route, tightly surrounding a public bus. The bus driver continuously honked the horn, while on Lu Rian's side, the car window remained silently closed and unmoving. The standoff lasted nearly half an hour, until Yi Tengqing slowly stepped down from the bus. Lu Rian immediately grabbed her skirt and ran straight toward him. Right in front of all the bus passengers, she embraced Yi Tengqing tightly. The two were pressed close, exchanging intimate words that made outsiders uncomfortable to watch. Finally, they walked away hand in hand, leaving behind a crowd of angry passengers and a long, congested line of blocked cars. The comments section beneath the video had long since exploded, filled entirely with curses. Someone wrote, "I was called in for overtime last night. I took the bus to save money, but I never expected to run into this incident. After being stuck for an hour, I was fired." Another person said, "What was that? Yesterday, the entire main road was blocked off. Thousands of cars couldn't move. Traffic police couldn't even get in. I was stuck in my car for 3 hours and nearly peed my pants." There was an even more deeply sarcastic comment. "This truly exposes their nature. The poor will always be playthings in the hands of the rich. We, the common people, already live hard enough. Don't let their so-called fairy tale love harm any more innocent people." As I read those comments, the corner of my mouth slightly curled up. This was exactly the effect I wanted, to show the world that the kind of love Lu Rian worshipped was actually built upon so many troubles and injuries inflicted on others. Before I could finish watching, the secretary walked in again, his voice urgent. "Mr. G, the traffic police department just released an announcement. They said they will give the public a clear explanation and will absolutely not let the suspect go. They have dispatched people to the Lu family residence." I was not surprised at all. That pink Rolls-Royce was too conspicuous. Who in the elite circle didn't know it was Lu Rian's car? Before, she relied on the Lu family's influence. A small mistake could be loosely covered up, but this incident was too big, public outrage was sky high, and no one could save her. Sure enough, that afternoon, the news broke. Lu Rian was taken in for questioning by the traffic police. The pink Rolls-Royce was impounded as evidence. I heard she would be detained, though the specific duration was yet to be decided. The Lu family was immediately thrown into turmoil. Partners were calling non-stop to cancel contracts, and the stock of the Lu Corporation plummeted disastrously, practically turning into worthless paper. 3 days later, as I was in my office reviewing the Lu Corporation's financial report, a servant stepped in and said softly, "Madam Lu has arrived, and is waiting in the downstairs lounge. She seems quite distressed. I put the report down, straightened the lapel of my suit, and slowly walked downstairs. What was supposed to come had finally come. As soon as I entered the lounge, I saw Madame Lu sitting on the sofa, her eyes swollen and red, her hair messy, completely stripped of her former aristocratic grace. The moment she saw me, she immediately stood up, clutching my arm, her voice trembling. "Boda, only you can save the Lu family now. Rian is still young. She doesn't understand things, and she made a mistake, but the Lu family cannot collapse." I pretended to be concerned, gently helped her sit down, and instructed the servant to pour her a cup of tea. "Auntie, please don't get agitated. I have heard about Lu Rian's situation. I have also been contacting a friend in the court these past few days to see if I can help her ask for a suspended sentence or a reduced punishment, so she won't have to suffer so much." The moment I finished speaking, Madame Lu gasped, "Oh my God," and fainted, collapsing onto the sofa. I chuckled coldly to myself. She's quite the actress. I deliberately instructed the servant to help her lie down. As for myself, I stepped onto the balcony, pretending to make a call, my voice just loud enough. "Hello, is that Mr. Wong?" "Judge Wong, I'm G. Boda. Regarding Lu Rian's case, could you perhaps show her some leniency?" I spoke deliberately loudly, ensuring Madame Lu heard every word clearly. Sure enough, less than a few minutes later, she regained consciousness, tightly grasping my hand, her eyes teary. "Boda, you truly are a good boy. When Rian gets out, the two of you must quickly set a wedding date, so she won't be misled by those men outside anymore." I feigned hesitation and gently sighed. "Auntie, I'm afraid Lu Rian and I truly are not destined to be together. I can see that she genuinely loves Yi Tingqing, and this whole mess was caused because of him. They're the true match made in heaven. Perhaps I should withdraw sooner rather than later." The slight upturn at the corner of Madame Lu's mouth instantly became cold, and her voice sank. "That boy, I won't let him off easily. Boda, don't worry. The future son-in-law of the Lu family is only you. You know, for people like us born into families like this, talking about being a lifelong couple is just a distant dream. Those men Rian keeps outside are all lowlifes, not worthy of mention." I withdrew my hand from hers, the corners of my lips curving into a faint, icy smile. "Auntie, saying that isn't nice at all. If Lu Rian can keep men outside, I can keep women too. If you see no problem with that, I'll call a few beautiful girls over right now. No matter how many women I have, Lu Rian's position as the main wife will not change. How does that sound?" Madame Lu was stunned, her mouth agape, and unable to speak. The string of beads in her hand fell to the ground, breaking into several pieces with a clatter. She couldn't find a retort and could only try to persuade me to be patient. I sighed softly, my voice softening. "Auntie, please don't blame me. I sincerely want to marry Lu Rian, but now she is in custody, the Lu family is in chaos, and Yi Tingqing is still running around outside, causing trouble. Even if I wanted to marry her, the elders in my family would not agree to me marrying someone whose family is entangled in a criminal case." The moment she heard a possibility of reversal, Madame Lu immediately straightened up, grabbed my hands, and said urgently, "Boda, don't worry. I will definitely deal with that Yi Tingqing cleanly. As for the internal affairs, let me arrange them. You just need to wait for good news." I smiled and nodded, personally escorting her to the villa door. In my heart, I thought, I was just regretting not having a reason to intervene in the Lu family's internal affairs, and she delivered the opportunity right to my doorstep. Lu family only has Lu Rian as the sole heir, but now she is disgraced, and the family is in chaos, like a pot of mush. Only the Ji family is powerful enough to salvage the situation, and the condition for that rescue is for the Ji family to acquire the entire Lu corporation. After seeing Madame Lu off, I immediately called my secretary to prepare an acquisition contract for the Lu corporation. No need for complications, just a clear statement. After the Ji family invests, they will gain absolute control over the Lu corporation. Additionally, transfer a private sum of money to Madame Lu. It doesn't need to be a large amount, just enough to tempt her. The secretary replied, "Yes, Mr. G, I will bring the contract and the transfer documents for your review tomorrow morning." I hung up, looking out the window at the pitch-black night sky. Madame Lu thought she had grasped a lifesaver, yet she had personally pushed the entire Lu family into my pocket. All I had to do was wait for her to sign the contract, and then get Lu Ruyan out of custody. I wanted to witness firsthand how she would face all of this. 3 days later, I instructed my secretary to present the contract and the transfer documents to Madame Lu. Her eyes lit up at the sight of the number displayed in the account. She didn't bother to read the clauses carefully, picking up the pen and immediately signing her name at the bottom of the page, speaking nonstop as she signed. Boda, the Lu Corporation will be fully handed over to you from now on. When Rian gets out, she will definitely thank you. I looked at the freshly dried signature, the corner of my mouth slightly lifted. Auntie, don't worry, I will handle the Lu Corporation's matters properly. But in my heart, it was crystal clear. By the time Lu Ruyan gets out of prison, she will no longer be the heir of the Lu family, but merely an empty shell in my hands, a puppet controlled by the Ji family. After the contract was completed, I immediately used my connections, found acquaintances in the court and detention center, and submitted all the necessary bail documents. In truth, it was all just a formality because the power of life and death over the Lu Corporation was already in my hands. No one dared to disrespect Ji Boda. About a week later, the secretary reported, Mr. Ji, Lu Ruyan has been released on bail. I didn't go to pick her up, I just told someone to monitor her movements. Sure enough, as soon as Lu Ruyan stepped out of the detention center gates, she didn't go home, but immediately took a taxi straight to the apartment where Yi Tingxing was staying. She even deliberately instructed the driver to circle past my company building, clearly hoping I would coincidentally see her. I smiled, going with the flow, and told my driver to follow her, proceeding into the apartment complex. As the door opened, the first sight that met my eyes was Yi Tingxing comfortably sitting on the sofa, holding a game controller, looking relaxed like someone completely unburdened. Yi Tingxing's stomach looked a bit rounder than before. Clearly, he hadn't been living badly lately. I had instructed people not to touch him, occasionally even sending over some fine foods, all to prepare for today's drama. The moment Lu Ruyan saw Yi Tingxing, she immediately rushed over, clutching his arm, her voice trembling. Baby, are you all right? Did they bully you? Yi Tingxing shook her hand off and frowned. What could possibly happen to me? On the contrary, you were inside for so long. Ji Boda must have bullied you many times. He even told me I wasn't worthy of you and that you had to go to jail because of me. Wasn't that your voluntary choice? Tell me quickly, you only love me, right? As soon as the words left his mouth, Lu Ruyan's face immediately turned pale. She had just been released, visibly thinner, her skin sallow, and her cheeks sunken. The person who once had a proud and arrogant demeanor now looked like nothing more than a wretched shadow. For a week inside, she had only eaten meat twice and endured much hardship. Yet now, the person she loved not only didn't comfort her, but instead blamed her, his voice full of suspicion. Her lips trembled, but she couldn't utter a word for a long time. I stood by the door, silently watching the scene. There were no ripples in my heart, only amusement. Just then, Madame Lu also arrived. As soon as she stepped in, she hurriedly grabbed my arm. Boda, Ruyan is out now. The two of you should quickly finalize the wedding. Don't let outsiders gossip anymore. I deliberately frowned, my voice composed. Auntie, not now. Lu Ruyan has just been released from custody. Hundreds of eyes are scrutinizing the Lu family and the Ji family. If I hold the engagement now, people will say the Ji family is protecting a criminal. Let's wait a while longer. Hearing this, Lu Ruyan nervously stepped forward and grasped my wrist. Ji Boda, why are you refusing me? Don't you want to marry me anymore? Didn't you always say you wanted to marry me before? I burst out laughing as if I had heard the world's most idiotic joke, flicked her hand away, and sneered, Lu Ruyan, stop disgusting me. The Ji family is not a trash heap. We don't take in secondhand goods. Before, I wanted to marry you because I saw commercial marriage as an exchange of benefits. Now that you're like this, whoever likes you can take you. With that, I turned and walked away. Before leaving the apartment, I instructed my secretary to send a recording of Lu Ruyan and Yi Tingxing's conversation to him, so he would know that the kind of love he treasured in his heart was not worth a penny in Lu Ruyan's eyes. Sure enough, that night, Yi Tingxing ran to the Lu family villa and caused a scene. He sat on the steps, wailing Lu Ruyan's name, his voice hoarse from crying. The butler tried to reason with him several times, but he refused to leave, finally forcing them to call the security guards for forced removal. During the struggle, Yi Tingxing's head hit the stone steps hard, causing blood to gush out. When the ambulance arrived, Madame Lu rushed out to see what was happening. Before being loaded onto the stretcher, Yi Tingxing pulled a piece of paper from his pocket, threw it straight at her, and shouted, Look at this. Lu Ruyan is pregnant with my child. You people can't treat me like this. Madame Lu picked up the paper and froze at the sight. It was a medical examination report. The text clearly printed, "Pregnant person, Lu Ruyan, father of the child." Yi Tengqing. Her eyes widened, her body trembled, and she collapsed right on the spot, suffering a heart attack. In the end, the ambulance carried away two people. One was Yi Tengqing, whose head was covered in blood, and the other was Madame Lu, unconscious. When my subordinate reported back, I was looking at a series of photos taken earlier, including scenes of Lu Ruyan and Yi Tengqing being intimate in the apartment, and the picture of Madame Lu signing the transfer contract for the Lu Corporation. I selected the two clearest shots and said over the phone, "Send these two photos to the newspaper editor. Find a reporter to write a truly sensational article for me. The content should state that the Lu family's daughter was pregnant before marriage, and the third party caused a disturbance leading to the mother being rushed to the hospital with a serious illness. The G family will cover all sponsorship fees for the second half of this year." The person on the other end immediately replied, "Understood, Mr. G, I'll do it right away." I hung up, put my car keys in my pocket, grabbed my coat, and walked out the door, my lips slightly curled. There was only one thought in my mind. The Lu family tragedy has only just begun. It was time to go to the hospital to see some excitement. After all, Lu Ruyan must certainly be in desperate need of comfort right now. On the way, I thought of the miserable lovers Lu Ruyan and Yi Tengqing. Their coming days would likely be more painful than their time in the detention center. Monday morning, the sky was overcast and a ceaseless, persistent drizzle was falling. As soon as I reached the entrance of the Lu Corporation, I saw a group of security guards surrounding a person. That person was Lu Ruyan. She was wearing a wrinkled women's suit, her face as white as paper. I heard she had suffered a miscarriage a few days earlier. Now standing in the rain, her soaking wet hair clung to her cheeks, completely lacking the radiant presence of the golden spoon young lady she once was. Seeing the security guards block her, she immediately became frantic, shouting, "Are you blind? Don't you know who I am? I am the owner of the Lu Corporation. Dare to stop me, and I'll fire all of you, believe it or not." The security guards' faces were emotionless, their movements unchanged. They had already received my orders. Lu Ruyan now had absolutely no connection to the Lu Corporation and was strictly forbidden from stepping inside the building. I told my driver to stop the Maybach right in front of the entrance. As soon as I got out of the car, several umbrellas immediately shielded me. The senior executives of the Lu Corporation rushed out, lining up to bow and greet me. "Mr. G, you've arrived. The meeting is about to start. Would you like to rest in the office for a moment?" Those two words, Mr. G, pierced Lu Ruyan's heart like needles. She snapped her head around, her eyes full of hatred, and shouted in a hoarse voice, "G Boda, I trusted you so much. I wanted to marry you, yet you betrayed me, used me to buy people's loyalty, acquired the Lu family shares, and instigated the board to kick me out of the company. How could you treat me like this?" The more she spoke, the more agitated she became, lunging forward to grab my collar. But she was pushed aside by one of the executives nearby. "That person is Chu Mei," the sharp voice cut through. "Miss Lu, how do you have a nerve to say that? When you blocked the bus for that pretty boy, causing public outrage that destabilized the Lu Corporation, why didn't you think about the company's honor then? The fact that the Lu Corporation is still standing today is thanks to Mr. G. What right do you have to come here and cause trouble?" Lu Ruyan staggered, falling prone into a puddle of rainwater with a heavy thump. Her crumpled dress was soaked and clung to her body, making her look like a dirty rag. She looked up, her eyes filled with suppressed fury as she looked at the faces that had once fawned over her voice trembling yet fierce. "Just because his name is G, not Lu, you are all willing to act as his dogs? This is betrayal. Unforgivable betrayal." The female executive scoffed. "Betrayal? When you drove the Lu Corporation to the brink of bankruptcy for a man, why didn't you call that betrayal? Mr. G deserves to be the one in power, and you do not." I cleared my throat. The woman instantly fell silent, her eyes still looking at me with deference. I didn't bother to glance down at Lu Ruyan even once, only walking calmly into the building. For someone who only causes trouble, severely drops stock prices, and ruins the company's reputation, being kicked out of the picture is already a mild outcome. The current ending is just the deserved retribution. Stepping into the meeting room, the secretary approached and handed me a file, speaking softly. Mr. G, the court just sent a notice. Yi Tanqing has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for fraud and defamation. I opened the file and flipped through a few pages, my eyes completely unsurprised. Earlier, Yi Tanqing had tried to clear his name via livestream, claiming that Lu Ruyan and I colluded to use him for insemination. In response, his own academic advisor spoke up, stating that Yi Tanqing had dropped out of school half a year ago and was about to be expelled a long time ago. Then neighbors came forward, saying his family was heavily in debt because his parents were gambling addicts and even owed them 50,000 yuan. As for the defamation against G Corporation, he touched upon the interests of a series of subsidiary companies. I didn't even need to lift a finger. Naturally, someone else taught him a lesson. The secretary continued. I heard that in court, Yi Tanqing cried and said he wanted to meet you once. The lawyer declined on your behalf. I tossed the file onto the table and let out a cold laugh. Wants to meet me? Does he think he's worthy? Being around that type of person for 1 minute brings bad luck. In the following week, I dedicated myself entirely to the restructuring of the Lu Corporation. All the raw materials, supply chains, production lines, and market sectors that the Lu family had built up over decades were smoothly acquired by the G family. In the past, when the G family was still weak, my parents were suppressed by the Lu family, forcing them to endure humiliation bit by bit. In those days, my parents had to humble themselves, bowing and pleading with them repeatedly just to discuss cooperation with the Lu family. But now, the G family stood firm, and the Lu family, conversely, had to lower themselves to beg. Lu Ruyan looked down on me, thought I was unworthy, and wanted to use the G family as a stepping stone to climb higher. Well, now look, they personally delivered the entire Lu family into my hands. I can consider the debt from years ago to be finally repaid by myself. I transferred a sum of money to Madame Lu, enough for her to live the rest of her life in comfort, free from worrying about food and clothing. As for Lu Ruyan, I didn't care if Madame Lu decided to share any of it with her. After all, Lu Ruyan was the one who destroyed the entire Lu family and the one who killed her mother's last hope. That night, I stood on the top floor of the Lu Corporation building, looking down at the bustling traffic below, the city lights sparkling like a sea of stars. The secretary walked in, handed me a report, and respectfully said, Mr. G, all the resources of the Lu Corporation have been fully integrated. The market value of G Corporation has now increased by another 30 billion. I took the report, looked at the cold numbers on the page, feeling strangely calm. 2 generations of the G family had painstakingly planned this, and today it was finally completed in my hands. The tragedy of Lu Ruyan and Yi Tanqing had also finally reached its conclusion. The so-called love, in the face of power and profit, was not worth a penny. I placed the report on the table and said casually, announce to all employees that tomorrow we will hold an all-company meeting. I will declare the official merger of G Corporation and Lu Corporation. From now on, there's no Lu Corporation, only G Corporation. The secretary nodded slightly. Yes, Mr. G, I will arrange it immediately. As the secretary left, I turned back to look out the glass window. The city at night was flourishing like brocade. The lights reflected my figure on the glass surface. My lips slightly curved, my eyes cold as ice. My business map will continue to expand. From now on, no one will dare to look down on the G family, and no one will dare to act out that foolish love in front of me again. Because in this world, only the power and profit held in one's hands are truly real.